Be me, 23, currently studying law, living with my Uncle Stephen since my mum died years back. Never really met Dad before. He stepped in, paid my tuition, bought me books, even covered rent when I was short. I felt guilty sometimes, but mostly just accepted it. He never complained, just kept showing up with the card when bills piled up. Every time my rent cleared or new books showed up in the mail, I told myself I would pay him back someday. But someday kept moving further away. Stephen's wife Clara always framed herself as the real backbone of the family. At dinner, she would sigh. Men think working late is sacrifice, but women carry the real load. Once she told me, never rely on a man to save you. I typed it into my notes app like it was scripture, swore I would never forget it. Their 2 kids would sit at the table, half listening, doodling on placemats while Clara ranted. Stephen always asked them about school first, even when he looked dead on his feet. In uni, it felt like every second debate circled back to patriarchy, custody battles, gender pay gap, marriage laws, all of it. I always jumped in. Professors loved it when I went hard. One time, a guy said men lose more in custody cases. I laughed and told him straight up, men still write the laws, you think the courts don't serve them? The classroom lit up, girls snapping, professors smiling. It made me feel untouchable, like I had just dunked on him in front of everyone. Online was the same. Scrolling late at night, half procrastinating, half performing, I would share clips of men in divorce court sobbing and write captions like funniest sitcom nobody asked for, dragging insecure men for sport because women finally have equal rights. At home, Clara backed me up, always ready with a line. She would swirl her wine and say, men think working overtime is sacrifice. Try being the one who gave up her 20s. I would watch her, thinking, yeah, exactly. She gets it. Meanwhile, Stephen was quieter. He came home late, shirt still smelling like machine oil. He would slump into his chair while Clara rolled her eyes at his timing. I saw him as distant, maybe selfish. I never thought maybe he was just worn down from carrying all of us. Clara would pour wine, vent about wasted years. I nodded, sympathized. Stephen just listened, said nothing, stared into his plate. I thought silence meant guilt. I did not realize back then, silence could also mean exhaustion. Then little cracks started showing. Clara stayed out later than usual, came back smelling like perfume that was not hers, hair perfect, cheeks flushed. She said it was girls' night, or book club. Funny thing though, she never had any new books. Once I walked past the living room and saw her on the couch whispering into her phone, voice soft, giggly in a way she never was with Stephen. The screen lit up his name. Mark, Stephen's oldest friend, the guy who came to every barbecue, who helped carry furniture in last summer. I froze in the hallway. She looked up, smiled like nothing was wrong, waved me off. Just catching up, he and his wife are having issues. I told myself it was fine. I was a law student. I knew adultery did not matter in modern divorce proceedings. I did not even have proof that this was that. Besides, maybe Stephen deserved it. He was never around, always working late, leaving her alone. Is not emotional neglect its own kind of betrayal? That is what my professors always said in family law lectures. Still, something about it itched at me. Mark came over for dinner once. Clara poured his wine before Stephen's, her laugh too loud at his dumb jokes. Stephen noticed, I could tell, but he just kept cutting the kids' food, quiet as ever. A week later, Clara pulled me aside in the kitchen, eyes glassy, voice trembling just right. You are old enough to understand. I wasted my best years on him. Do you think that is fair? I muttered something about sacrifices being part of marriage. She cut me off. Sacrifices? I gave up my 20s. He gave up... What? Late nights at work? I did not know what to say. I felt guilty for even thinking she had a point. Then the papers came, filed for divorce, custody, support. I found her crying at the table, surrounded by printouts and highlighters like a student cramming for finals. She said, I can't live half a life anymore. Hugged me, whispered, do not hate me for choosing myself. In my head, I heard my professor's voice. Family law prioritizes the caregiver, always. I repeated it back to Clara like comfort, and only later realized I had just said the quiet part out loud, to the person who would benefit. Stephen walked in, while she was still clutching me, and looked at the stack of papers like it was written in a language he did not speak. He sat down, no yelling, no fight, just quiet, like a man already underwater. Later that night, he tried to talk to her, standing in the doorway, papers still in his hand. Clara, we can fix this. Cannot we? After everything, she did not even look up from her phone. She just said, "It is already in motion." He kept standing there like he had not heard her right, like if he waited long enough, she would take it back. Later he came to me, cleared his throat like he was joking. "Since you are the law expert, do I even stand a chance?" I laughed too quick, law student confidence in my voice. "If you are a good dad, the court will see it. You will be fine." He just looked at me, tired eyes, no smile, nodded like he had expected that answer, and went quiet. The next morning I found him at the table, petition still open, his finger tracing the same line again and again, like maybe he had misread it. He looked up once, voice low. "It says abandonment. Was I really gone that much?" I opened my mouth, but no answer came out. The first hearing came quick. Clara's lawyer dressed sharp, voice sharp. Stephen's sketchy legal aid attorney, he scraped together last minute, showed up late with coffee stains on his tie. Clara's side called Stephen's overtime abandonment, called his one work trip a selfish indulgence. The judge nodded along like it was gospel. Stephen tried to explain, but the words kept dying in his throat. Every time he started, Clara's lawyer cut in with, "Objection," and the judge let them. I sat there thinking about the lectures I parroted in class, how I used to mock men crying in court. But when it was Stephen sitting there, silent, I told myself, he will still get a fair shot. Men always do, right? After that first hearing, Clara became sharper. She was not just a wife anymore, she was a strategist. Folders stacked on the counter, receipts clipped neatly, sticky notes with "use this" scribbled on them. I caught her reading divorce blogs like textbooks, muttering primary caregiver advantage, status quo custody, best interest factors. She even asked me to help translate the legal terms, handed me a highlighter. I underlined phrases for her like I was studying for both our exams. I thought I was being supportive. I did not notice I had just joined the other side. I also once saw her coaching the kids. "Just tell the nice lady you spend more time with mommy, okay?" They nodded, not really understanding. I told myself it was not manipulation, just preparation. Law was about evidence, after all. Later that week, the little one said at breakfast, "Mom says you do not care because you are always gone." Stephen froze with the orange juice mid-pour. He said, "I am here now, buddy." Nobody answered. Stephen meanwhile got smaller in the house. He would come home, drop his boots by the door, sit at the kitchen table, counting coins like they could multiply. A new sticky note appeared on the fridge in Stephen's block letters. "Do not forget to eat." On the hallway table, a crayon drawing, stick figure dad outside the house, window colored yellow. I smiled at the art and missed the message. Once I walked in, and he slid a bill under his arm like a guilty teenager hiding cigarettes. He still asked about my classes, though. "How is property law going?" I answered, without looking up from my phone, and did not notice his hands trembling until later. Mark still came around sometimes, offered to help Clara with the paperwork. Stephen never said a word, just fixed a loose hinge on the kids' door while they sat in the living room with glasses of wine. I thought he was avoiding confrontation. Now I wonder if he just did not want us to see him break. The night before the next hearing, she printed a custody schedule template with primary already circled. "It is just a sample," she said, sliding me a pen to fill in alternating weekends. My hand wrote it before my head argued. The second hearing was worse. Clara's lawyer introduced screenshots of Stephen's texts, things like "I am exhausted and I do not know how much more I can take." Meant as venting, they looked damning when read aloud in court, highlighted in neon yellow and projected like evidence of a crime. The judge nodded gravely. I felt a chill, but reminded myself, context matters. The system balances truth. Then Stephen tried to explain, said, "Those were to my wife, not threats, just fatigue." The judge cut him off. "Please answer the question directly, sir." He went quiet again. I kept telling myself this was just the opening rounds, that the real truth would emerge. But when we walked out into the hallway, I overheard two clerks chuckling. "Another deadbeat dad crying, huh?" "Happens every day," I froze. Stephen heard it too. His jaw tightened, but he said nothing, just adjusted his coat and walked ahead of me. The silence felt heavier than anything. That night I could not sleep. Clara sat in the kitchen scrolling her phone, wine glass half full. She smirked at a message before locking the screen. I glimpsed the name, Mark again. She caught me looking and shrugged. "I deserve happiness too." I did not reply, but the words echoed with something sharp I could not quite name. I lay in bed thinking about class debates, how I had told everyone courts favored men, how I had laughed at men breaking down on video. But watching Stephen's shoulders sag in that courtroom, it did not look like power. It looked like punishment. The ruling day finally came, and it felt less like justice, more like a weather forecast. Primary physical and legal custody to the mother, father, alternating weekends and one midweek dinner as schedules permit. Child support to start immediately, wage garnishment approved. The judge said it like announcing rain on Tuesday. My stomach sank at, as schedules permit. Whose schedule? Whose permission? Our lawyer tried to raise the affair, Mark's texts, even a photo once. The judge did not blink. Infidelity is not determinative for custody in this court. I had said that line in class before. It sounded different with Stephen's hands clasped and shaking. Property division came next. Clara was granted exclusive use of the house to preserve stability for the children. The same house Stephen inherited from his dad, deed still in the folder with his father's looping signature. So they refinanced after the wedding to fix the roof, turned history into a marital asset. Stephen was ordered to keep paying the mortgage pending final division. Clara wept into a tissue, called it a victory for the children. Nobody noticed Stephen's jaw tightening until it hurt. The first handover was a scene from hell. The kids clung to his jacket like it was a lifeboat. Clara peeled them off one by one, voice sugar sweet. Daddy does not care enough to stay. I saw the custody calendar on our fridge, my own handwriting filling in alternating weekends, and realized I had signed the permission slip for his absence. Home looked emptier after. The garage pegboard had blank outlines where his best tools used to hang, a pawn ticket curled in his wallet behind a photo of the kids. The truck was gone too, only an oil shadow left on the concrete like a chalk outline. On the counter, his pay stub, deductions boxed in red, garnishments bigger than his name. Next to it, an email printout. Co-parent portal, subscription renewed. He had to pay monthly to request time with his own children. He moved into a small rental across town. Carpet smelled like mildew, blinds crooked. His mattress was still wrapped in plastic on the floor, a cardboard box doubling as a nightstand. But in the corner, lined up neatly, were the kids' toys. Action figures, a doll with one missing shoe, a spaceship made from cardboard and foil, all waiting for visits that did not always happen. One night, I found a shoebox under his bed. Unsent letters, dated like prayers. I miss you, buddy. I am proud of you, even when I cannot say it. Do not let Mommy tell you different. Daddy loves you. I shoved the lid back on before he could catch me. It felt like I'd broken into a church. That same night, he finally spoke, sitting on the couch, eyes hollow, hands clasped. I do not miss her. I miss my kids. Now I am just a paycheck, with visiting hours. His voice did not crack. Mine did. After the ruling, everything got smaller. Stephen shrank into his rental, like furniture left out in the rain, and came home, less a man, more a shadow, carrying bills. Tuition stopped clearing in my account. He sat me down, apologetic. I cannot cover it anymore. Not with support and the mortgage, I nodded like I understood, but inside, panic lit up my chest. I took a part-time job at the campus cafe, burnt fingers on steam wands, late shifts, studying half asleep. It was the first time I ever felt the grind he lived in for decades. The first time I realized sacrifice is not a word, it is hours stolen from your body. Stephen kept leaving sticky notes on the fridge of his rental. Check the oil. Do not forget to eat. Old habits with no one left to read them. I visited once and saw one curling on the door, written to himself. Kids coming Saturday. Saturday passed. No knock at the door. Clara texted excuses instead. They have homework. They are tired. We are busy this weekend. Stephen just stacked the notes in silence. Never argued, never raised his voice. Silence was his last language. I started overhearing things differently too. At school, kids whispered about me. Is not her uncle that guy who lost custody? In class, a professor called family court neutral ground. My throat closed, but I could not argue. Neutral did not look like garnishments bigger than your paycheck. Mark showed up less at the house, but Clara did not hide anymore. I saw them once at a restaurant when I was bussing tables, her hand draped over his like she had always been free. I ducked into the kitchen before they noticed me. Back in lecture the next day, my professor said, "Courts do not punish women for seeking happiness." The words hit like deja vu. Stephen missed work shifts. Once I found unopened bills stuffed in a drawer, envelopes torn but never read. Sink full of dishes, Shoebox of letters, heavier every time I peeked. He started taking long walks at night. No jacket, no phone, came back hours later, eyes red like he had walked through smoke. I wanted to ask where he went, but when I opened my mouth, all that came out was silence too. I thought the silence at Stephen's rental was heavy. Then I saw him with his old friends again. A couple guys came over one Friday night, 6-packs sweating in paper bags. They were not loud, just low voices, the kind men use when they are ashamed for each other. I lingered in the kitchen, pretending to clean dishes, but every word carried. "He worked every damn weekend for that house," one said, voice tight. "I remember when his old man died. Stephen could have sold it, pocketed cash. Instead, he refinanced, fixed the roof, made it a home." Another shook his head. "And now she gets exclusive use? While he still pays the mortgage?" Stephen said nothing, just picked at the label on his beer. I could hear it peel and tear with every silence. One guy, older, leaned back and sighed. "I told you, man. Marriage is Russian roulette for us. I never signed those papers for a reason." Stephen did not fight back, did not defend the institution, just whispered, "I thought I would be different." Those words landed heavier than anything, the kind of line that makes a room go quiet, makes even men too old for tears look away. They started listing off the other things he lost. "That truck you spent years restoring. Pawned the tools too, right?" Stephen nodded once. Someone swore under their breath. Another muttered, 20 years of overtime for what? For this? I wanted to shout that courts balanced things, that women gave up careers, that it was fair, but the words stuck in my throat like sand. Fair did not look like a man peeling beer labels while strangers lived in his house. They kept talking, and I kept listening from the shadows. One said, "I told my son never marry in this state, not unless you're ready to hand over your paycheck and your kids if it goes bad." Another, "We all joke about it, but Stephen, you lived it." The man they were talking about sat right there, smaller than I had ever seen him, hands steady on the outside, but his knuckles white against the bottleneck. I realized none of them envied him. If anything, they pitied him, and that pitied silence was worse than Clara's sharpest words. After they left, I walked into the living room. Bottles lined the table like gravestones. Stephen was still there, shoebox open beside him, pages of unsent letters spilling out like evidence. He did not look up when I sat down, just muttered, "They all warned me." Said it could happen. Said no man walks out of court the same. I did not listen. I tried to say something about love, about how marriage is not always like this, but the words felt hollow in my mouth. I thought of my own classes, the way I sneered when men brought up risk, how I used to laugh, "If you are scared, do not get married." Yet here was Stephen, never scared, never cynical, now gutted for that very trust. I left that night with his friends' voices replaying in my head, their warnings, their bitterness, their pity. I thought about how Stephen had never been the guy to complain, never even yelled back at Clara, how he carried everyone, me, the kids, the bills, like it was his duty. And the moment he faltered, the system stripped him bare and handed his life to someone else. At school the next week, we had another debate. The professor asked if divorce laws were biased. A guy raised his hand, mentioned custody stats. I wanted to laugh, to snap back like always, but the words caught in my throat. Because now I could see Stephen's friends' faces in my mind, men who joked about marriage like a death sentence, then drank quietly over one of their own falling victim. I did not laugh this time. I just sat there, nails digging into my palms, wishing I did not understand.